Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back. This is tutorial number 4 for undergraduate engineering thermodynamics. I am Dr. Jishnu Bhattacharya, an associate professor in mechanical engineering in IIT Kanpur. Okay, this is the book, as you see in the screen. This is the book we follow for undergraduate thermodynamics teaching. And for last 3 tutorials, we have looked at first problems from first 2 chapters, and we were working on the 3rd chapter. Okay, so 3rd chapter, you please follow the cursor on the screen so that you can follow where I am pointing at. So this is the 3rd chapter, which is properties of pure substances. Okay, which includes pure liquid as well as pure gas, which are usually the working fluids for the thermodynamic systems. So that's where we are looking at. We have solved few problems in the last tutorials. Today we also will take few problems from this chapter, chapter number 3, which is properties of pure substances. Okay, so this is a very important chapter. That is why we are devoting 2 tutorials on this, and there are lot of concepts which are very basic and are fundamental to the analysis of any thermodynamic systems. So I hope the last tutorials, last 3 tutorials, you have obtained quite a good sense of the first 3 chapters, and today we are going to look at few more problems from the 3rd chapter. Okay, so we have introduced these property tables, which you have looked at for solving the problems from the last tutorial. This is my version. This is just taken from the Sengel and Bohl's book, from the appendices of that. And here all the property tables are put together in one place. So we are going to use this one, and whichever table we will use, that will show on the screen. So please pay attention. Okay, so the first problem we are going to take up today is on gases. Earlier we have looked at liquids, particularly water as well as refrigerant 134A. Today we are going to look mainly at gases. Okay, so the first problem, what is the problem statement? Let me zoom this little bit. So a 1 meter cube tank containing air at 10 degrees centigrade and 350 kPa is connected through a valve to another tank. So on the right hand side of the screen, you can see that there are 2 tanks. First one is connected to the second one, and there is a valve which is disconnecting them from mixing. Okay, so that particular tank is connected through a valve to another tank containing 3 kg of air at 35 degrees centigrade and 200 kPa. So the second tank, here you can see that mass is given, pressure and temperature are given, but volume is not known for tank B. And for tank A, volume, temperature and pressure, all these things are known, which are indicated with tick mark, and mass is not known for the first tank. Okay, so now the valve is opened and the entire system is allowed to reach thermal equilibrium with the surroundings, which are at 20 degrees centigrade. Okay, now you are opening this valve so that these can come in contact, so there will be mixing. The pressures will be equilibrated, they will be same. Okay, as well as the temperature will be allowed to uh, I mean, the heat can be exchanged with the surroundings, and ultimately the whole system, the combination of both the tanks will come at equilibrium. So that means both of them will come at 20 degrees centigrade, which is the surrounding temperature. Now what you need to do, you need to determine the value of the volume of the second tank, okay, which is not given. You can see with this question mark. So volume is not known, that you have to find out. And also you need to find out the final equilibrium pressure. So when both the tanks will be equilibrated, you need to find out the pressure of the either of the tank or for the whole system. Okay, so this is the schematic. Okay, please follow the cursor. We see that this is the schematic of the problem, and when nothing is given, we can assume that air can be taken as ideal gas, and more often than not, air as an ideal gas will lead to all possible engineering problems to be solved. That's a valid assumption. Where it is valid and not, we will see through the tutorial. So for now, we are assuming air to be ideal gas. And in tank A, what is not known? Mass is not known for tank A. And in tank B, the volume is not known, even though the mass is known. Okay, now for both the tanks, mass and volume we require to find out the final state. So all the unknowns here, for the tank A, mass is unknown. For tank B, volume is unknown. For both of them, we need to find both mass as well as volume. Okay, and to find those out, we will apply ideal gas law. Let's see how we can apply that. Again, let me zoom a little bit. Yes. So there are two equivalent forms of ideal gas law. Okay, this you have known from your school level physics. Okay, so first one is pressure into volume will be equal to mass and then gas constant, which is designated as R, and the temperature in absolute scale. So PV equal to mRT, that's a possible form. And the second form is PV equal to nRUT. RU stands for the universal gas constant. Okay, so if you use number of moles, N represents number of moles. So if you use number of moles, you have to use the universal gas constant RU. Okay, so PV equal to nRUT will be the form of the ideal gas law or the ideal gas equation of state. And the other alternative form is PV equal to mRT, where m is mass, not number of moles. Okay, now this R is different for individual gases. So for air, you will have one R, and for some other gas, suppose nitrogen, you will have some other R. But RU is universal. Okay, RU will be same for all the gases, and if you use number of moles, you will use RU as in the ideal gas equation. Okay, now let us see what are the values of this RU and R from the table. Okay, so let us go to the table. So here is the table in Cengel and Bohl's book. This table number is table A1, okay, which lists molar mass, gas constant, and critical point properties. This table we will use again and again for this particular tutorial. So here you see for different gases, this is the first column lists the different gases, and the 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth column, it gives us the R values or the gas constants in kilojoule per kgK. Okay, what is the RU? At the bottom of the table, you can see this RU to be 8.31447 kilojoule per kilomole. So please follow the cursor. You can see here that universal gas constant value. And on the left hand side of that, you can also see that the gas constant can be obtained from this Ru by dividing it with molar mass, and molar masses for each individual gases are also given throughout this column. Okay, so let us see what is the value for air. For air, the molar mass is 28.97 and the gas constant is 0.2870 kilojoule per kg. Okay, so now let's go back to the problem, and we can see here that the we can either use universal gas constant Ru, or so Ru is 8.31447 kilojoule per kilomole Kelvin. Okay, or you can use R, which is particular for air, and for that you have to do Ru divided by M. M is the molar mass of air. So R for air you can look up as 0.2870 kilojoule per kg, or you can find that out also by dividing Ru divided by the molar mass, and you will end up at the same number, 0.2870. That is gas constant for air. Okay, now as we know, either of this form we can use. We will use the mass one because that's what we are after. We want to know the mass. Okay, so for the first tank, tank A, we don't know the mass, but we know pressure, volume, temperature, and the gas constant. Okay, and here we see that this P1, T1 we have written. Why? Because this is the state 1. Before we have allowed the mixing, state 1 is the individual tank are separated. So that's why we want to know what is the mass of that unmixed air in tank 1. So P1V divided by R into T1 for tank A. So all these values are given. This is 350 kPa and 1 meter cube volume, and the gas constant we have found out from the table, that is 0.2870, and this kilojoule per kg, this you can also write, this kilojoule you can write kilopascal into meter cube. You can check this up, those are equivalent units. Okay, kilojoule is equivalent to kilopascal meter cube. So that will help us eliminate these different units, like this meter cube here, meter cube there, kilopascal here, kilopascal there. Okay, so the mass of tank A can be found out from all these numbers, and this 283 Kelvin, it's coming from 10 degrees centigrade, right? We are just adding 273 to the degree centigrade value to obtain the absolute scale value. Okay, this you know. So now you perform this algebra and you find out this mass in the first tank, tank A, is 4.309 kg. Okay, straightforward. Now the second tank, what is not known is the mass, but we don't know the volume. So we can now write the ideal gas equation in this form, so that the volume is on the left hand side and the mass, temperature, pressure, everything is on the right hand side, and R is the same because it's air again. Okay, so again we put all these values which are known. Here the temperature is different. This is 308 Kelvin. Okay, and the pressure is also different. Instead of 350 kPa, here we have 200 kPa. So ultimately the volume you can find out from doing this calculation, it's 1.326 meter cube. Now for both the tanks, tank A and tank B, we know all the quantities that are required: mass, volume, and pressure, temperatures are given. Okay, so let's go to the next portion where we allow the gases of both the tanks to be mixed. So look at here. Now we have opened the valve and mixing will happen, right? Pressure and temperature will equalize between these two tanks, and temperature will equalize not between these two tanks only, it will be equalized with the ambient. Okay, so ambient is given to be 20 degrees centigrade. Now the total volume and total mass will remain the same, right? Because the overall it's a rigid tank, nothing is going in or coming out. So the total volume and total mass will remain the same. So we are only assuming that the connecting piping is negligible in volume. So basically these two tanks are so huge that this piping will not contribute much. So the total volume of this system will be volume of A plus volume of B, both of which we know. So basically 1 plus 1.326 meter cube will be the total volume, which is 2.326 meter cube. Okay, and mass will also be the same. So M will be total mass will be mass of A, mass of B added to mass of B. Okay, so adding that you will get 7.309 kg. Now we can apply ideal gas law again for the combined system. Okay, A plus B. So what will we do? Now we know total mass M, we know total volume F. We also know what is the final temperature because it is coming to the ambient temperature, and that is 20 degrees centigrade. So everything we know. What we don't know is the final pressure, and that's the one that we want to find out. Okay, so just use the ideal gas law again with the total mass and total volume. The gas constant will stay the same, and we can find that final pressure will be 264 kPa. Okay, so one thing you can check, I mean, for any problem when you solve something, you should check whether the number you are getting physically make any sense or not. Okay, so what is the physical intuition tell us? It tells us that whatever pressure you will have at tank A and tank B, the final pressure of the combined system will be equal to, I mean, it will come in between these two pressures. So let's check that. What was the pressure at tank A? It was 350 kilopascal, and the tank B, it was 200 kilopascal. Okay, so the combined system should be at somewhere in between. So what we obtained, PA plus B at state 2 will be 264 kPa, which is in between PA1 and PB1. So that makes sense that okay, our number is physically meaningful. Okay, that you should check for anything like if you say a enormously high number, then you can be pretty sure that you have made some calculation mistake. You can go back and check where you have done that mistake. Okay, so that is the first problem we have solved. Now let's take the next problem, okay, which will take on water vapor again, but we'll try to apply the ideal gas law on water vapor. Water vapor is in gaseous form, right? So we can be tempted to apply ideal gas law there because it's easy to do. So in this problem, we will try to see how much, what would be the validity? What would be the validity if we want to use ideal gas? Okay. So now, what is the problem statement here? Determine the specific volume of superheated water vapor at 15 megapascal and 350 degrees centigrade. Okay, so pressure and temperature are given. So there are three ways it tells us to find out the specific volume. First one is use the ideal gas law. Assume it is ideal gas law and find out the specific volume. Second one is generalized compressibility chart. This is important for any real gas. Whenever the ideality is not valid, you need to know how to use this generalized compressibility chart. Okay, this you have learned in the chapter 3 of this book, and we'll shortly visit it again to solve this problem as well. And the third way you need to find out is through the steam tables. Steam tables also give you the superheated properties and the specific volume, right? So you can find that out from the steam table as well. And after finding all of these values, you need to find out the error involved. Okay, so let's try to see how we can do this. Ideal gas law we can apply. Ideal gas law uh, is the first one. So pressure and temperature given, the specific volume, which is capital V, volume divided by mass, is to be found out. So we need to find what is the R, the gas constant for superheated water vapor, right? So let's go to the table and find out what is the value for water vapor. Okay, so coming back to this table again, we have looked at the air value earlier. Okay, air value we have looked at. Now we will use what is the value for water. So at the bottom of the table, you can see this is water, and the fourth column is the gas constant, which is 0.4615, and the unit is kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay, 0.4615. So let's go back to the problem, and we see that that's the value we have picked up from the table. Okay, so R for water is 0.4615 kilojoule per kg, which is equivalent to kilopascal meter cube by kg. Okay, now you apply PV equal to MRT, V over M, that's your specific volume. You take it at one side. So the rest is RT by P, all of which are known now. And you can find out what is the specific volume. The value is 0.01917 meter cube per kg. Okay, that's what you get for given temperature and pressure if you use ideal gas law. Okay, now let's see what we get for if we don't assume ideal gas law, but let's assume it to be real gas. And that's where the generalized compressibility chart comes into picture. Okay, so ideal gas is P into small v, that is the specific volume, is equal to RT. That's the ideal gas law. Now for real gas, you have a factor Z extra. So PV equal to ZRT. Z is called compressibility. Okay, so this is the real gas law, PV equal to ZRT. Okay, this you have learned, and if you haven't, please go back to the book and find out what does it mean. So for each gas, this compressibility factor is different. Okay, you will have different Z, but so what does that mean? Whenever you have a gas, you have to list your Z for different pressure and temperature combinations, right? So each gas will give you one chart for compressibility. But the beauty of this compressibility is that it can be generalized if we normalize all these pressure and temperature by the critical value of that particular material. Okay, so if pressure and temperature are normalized by the respective critical values, then we have a common Z. Okay, so that is called the generalized compressibility. So that means we will have a single Z chart, generalized compressibility chart, which can be picked up or which can be used for any gas if we use the normalized pressure and temperature. Okay, so let's first see how these charts look like, at least have some idea, then before using it. Okay, let's go to the, so this is the generalized chart it looks like. Okay, if we zoom a little bit, we can see that in this x-axis we have reduced pressure, PR. Okay, and in y-axis we have this compressibility factor Z, which is the generalized Z. That means it can be applied for any gas. Now, if you look closely, you see that there are two kinds of lines on this plot. So one is like these bent lines, which is coming like this and going that way. Okay, these are for different TR. You can see here TR equal to 1, right? TR is the reduced temperature. How we'll reduce it, we'll see in a while. So TR, for different TR, we are drawing this line. TR equal to 1, TR equal to 1.05, this one is 1.2, okay, and so on. And on the other hand, we have another set of lines like this. Okay, here it will be easier. We have certain lines like this, okay, like this. So these are for different VR. Can you see it here? VR, which is reduced volume, we call it pseudo reduced volume, which will use it in the next problem, not this problem. But let's see that these lines are there. VR equal to 0.20. So these all lines are for different VR. Like this is VR equal to 0.5. This is VR equal to 0.6, and so on. So we have to find out the PR, the reduced pressure and reduced temperature, and read this table to find out what is the generalized Z, compressibility factor. And there are a little zoomed version for this also. Okay, let me see if we have that. Yes. So here the same chart, we have zoomed little bit around this particular corner origin. Okay, so this is point, the PR is point 0 to 1. Okay, so that's what we did, because that will help us get the numbers correctly. So this is the generalized chart. Okay, this is the generalized chart, and just a little bit of this. So from 0 to 1, this portion we have zoomed out and plotted it in the next chart. Okay, but it's just the subset of that. Okay, now we have obtained some sense of this generalized chart. Let's go back to the problem. Okay, now let me zoom again. So we have seen charts. Now this normalized pressure and temperature are called this reduced pressure and temperature. How do you reduce it? By dividing it by the critical pressure for that gas and critical temperature of that gas. Okay, so for this particular problem, it is superheated water vapor. So critical pressure is 22.06 MPa. Okay, this we can obtain from this chart only. Let me quickly show this to you. Okay, so not here. Let me show this here. This is the chart that we have here. On the right hand side, you can see these critical point properties are listed. Okay, so we need it for water. So this is the water row. So the pressure is 22.06 MPa and the temperature is 647.1 Kelvin. Okay, so first one is temperature, critical point value, temperature and pressure. Okay, so these values we look up from the table and use it for normalizing the pressure temperature values. So this 22.06 and 647.1 Kelvin, these two values we have used to obtain PR and TR, which are the reduced pressure and temperature. Now go back to this Z chart. As we have seen that this Z chart will give us the compressibility factor corresponding to this PR 0.68 and TR 0.963. Okay, so Z you can look up to be 0.65. I am not going back to the chart, but you can go and read this value 0.65. Okay, now just from the definition of compressibility, we can write that the specific volume will be Z compressibility factor multiplied by the specific volume if we assume ideal gas. So this specific volume ideal we already obtained, and that is 0.01917 meter cube per kg. Now Z is the factor that is multiplied to it to get the actual or the real gas value, that is 0.01246 meter cube per kg. Okay, so here you note that Z is unitless, right? Because it's the ratio of two volume or two specific volumes. So anyway, the units cancel, and the specific volume under real gas assumption that we get is 0.01246 meter cube per kg. So now we have obtained two values, right? One is ideal gas value, which is 0.01917 meter cube per kg, and the real gas value. Now which one to believe, right? So that's the question. And there we come to the third portion of this problem. What does it tell? The third portion tells us to use the steam table. Okay, so whatever model we use, these ideal gas or the real gas models, finally all of them have to be benchmarked against the reality. What is the reality? What is the experimental value? That's the reality. So experimental values are actually listed in the steam table. So whenever we are using steam table, we can assume that that's the benchmark we are calibrating all our other values against. So the steam table, if we look up for the superheated steam table, 15 MPa and temperature is 623 Kelvin. That means 350 degrees centigrade, because 350 degrees centigrade is the value that is given for the steam table. So let's look at what's the value, 15 MPa and 350 degrees centigrade. So we go back to the superheated steam table. If you look up here, this is superheated water table, and this is the subset of the table which is corresponding to the 15 MPa value. Pressure is 15 megapascal and the temperature is 350 degrees centigrade. So the specific volume you can read here, that 0.011481 meter cube per kg. Okay, so we read that and go back to the problem. And you can see that that's the value we directly obtained, 0.01148 meter cube per kg. So this is the most accurate number because that's the experimentally observed and universally accepted value after a lot of very sensitive experiments performed. Okay, so error is computed with the respect to the steam table value. Okay, let's see how much error we accumulate for ideal gas assumption or real gas assumption. So the ideal gas value 0.01917 is now we subtract the steam table value and benchmark with the steam table value, we get a 67% error. So that's huge, unacceptable error, right? Now if we use the second option, the real gas assumption or the compressibility factor, the value comes down to be 8.5%. So that's reasonable. That's within 10% of the reality. So what we can see here, the real gas value is much closer to the reality. And ideal gas value is simply unacceptable. For the pressure and temperature that's given here, the superheated water vapor simply cannot be taken as an ideal gas. Okay, that's the thing that we learn here. And we can see that this PR and TR, they are sufficiently low. I mean, PR should be sufficiently low and TR should be sufficiently high to get the ideal gas value. In that case, if we see that, if we take the very low pressure and very high temperature, then we'll see that this compressibility factor you will get will be very close to 1. So that means the ideal gas value will be valid. Okay, so that's a compressibility factor problem we have looked at. Now we'll look at another problem which will use the similar concept of compressibility, so that you can internalize these compressibility factor, this real gas assumption and all, but we'll do it for another gas. Now we'll do it for ethane. Okay, so ethane at 10 megapascal at 100 degrees centigrade is heated at constant pressure until its volume has increased by 60%. Determine the final temperature using, again, either ideal gas or the real gas assumption for compressibility factor, and then comment on the accuracy. So it's a straightforward problem of using the compressibility chart, but one trick is there. We will see when we encounter that. Okay, now to apply ideal gas law, we need to have this gas constant R, and to apply the real gas assumption, we need to have this critical pressure and critical temperature. Okay, so let's look that up for ethane. So this is the table we are coming again and again to, and now we have earlier looked at air, we have looked at water. Now we will use the value for ethane. So for ethane, the gas constant is 0.2765 kilojoule per kg, and the critical point temperature is 305.5 Kelvin, and critical point pressure is 4.48 MPa. Okay, so those are the values corresponding to ethane that we have looked at, and we are going back to the problem. So what we have looked up, this R is 0.2765 kilopascal meter cube per kg, which is equivalent to kilojoule per kg, and the critical point pressure is 4.48 megapascal. Critical point temperature is 305.5 Kelvin. Okay, now the first part of the problem is just assume ideal gas. Okay, so the problem statement says that this pressure and temperature is given for the first state, and then it is heated at constant pressure. So for ideal gas assumption, if you allow the pressure to be constant, what you can write, that this V over T is constant, right? So PV equal to RT, P is constant, R is gas constant by name, so it is constant. So what you can write, this for the whole process of constant pressure, V over T will be constant. Okay, so that means V over T constant means this T2 divided by T1 will be equal to V2 divided by V1. Okay, so that means T2 can be found out from this T1 V2 divided by V1, where all of these values are given. Temperature at initial condition, volume at initial condition, and volume at final condition are given. So what we have, so actually the volume ratio is given, V2 by V1 is given to be 1.6, right? It is given in terms of 60% increase in volume. That means V2 is 1.6 times V1. Now T1 is given to be 373 Kelvin. So by doing this calculation, you can find the temperature at the final state will be 596.8 Kelvin. Okay, that's under the ideal gas assumption. Now let's get real and let's use real gas assumption. So as you have seen in the earlier problem, we have to find the reduced quantities, reduced temperature, reduced pressure, to use the generalized compressibility chart. So this TR1 is T1 divided by TCR, and that will be equal to this TCR you have looked up, 305.5 Kelvin. So TR1 is 1.221, and that will be unitless because this is the ratio of two temperatures. And PR1, which is the reduced pressure at state 1, that will also be unitless, and it will be 10 megapascal divided by 4.48 megapascal, that is 2.232. So these two reduced quantities for temperature and pressure, we can go to the chart and find out these two. So let me show you the chart once again. I'll not try to read it with you. You can do it yourself. But what I want to show you there, that there are two things that to be read in this problem. Both the compressibility factor ZR and the pseudo reduced pressure. So what is this called? VR1 that we need to look up is called pseudo reduced pressure. Okay, so why this is necessary? It is difficult for me to explain in this problem. You can look that up in the text. I insist that please look that up. So but now what we are going to do, we are going to show you two values we need to read from that chart. Okay, so TR1 and PR1 we know 1.22 and 2.2223. So P is 2.23, so we have to be somewhere. Let me zoom it a little bit. Okay, so PR is somewhere here between 2 and 2.5 here, right? And TR is 1.22, so again it will be somewhere here between 1.2 and 1.3, somewhere here. So you have to read what is the exact value. You have to interpolate, of course, and you have to like use your judgment. Okay, it cannot be 100% accurate, but in this ballpark you need to find what is the ZR. ZR will be read from this axis. Okay, ZR will be read from this axis. It will be somewhere above 0.6, that we can say. And VR, you can see that this line is VR equal to 0.2, this line is VR equal to 0.25, this line is VR equal to 0.3, and then 0.35. So I guess it is coming out to be somewhere between 0.3 to 0.4. Okay, so if you actually read those numbers, what numbers you will get are these. Yeah, so the numbers we are getting is ZR to be 0.61, Z1 0.61, that's the compressibility factor at state 1, and this pseudo reduced pressure, sorry, this should be volume. So this pseudo reduced volume VR1 is 0.35. Okay, so these two values we read from the table. And now how we are going to use it, let's see. Here pressure remain constant, so the reduced pressure will be constant, right? Because both of them are normalized by the same factor. So PR2 now we know it will be same as PR1, 2.232. And now VR2 we have looked up, VR1 we have looked up, and VR2 is nothing but 60% more. So that means 1.6 into VR1. So VR2 is 0.56. Now what we know, that this PR2 we know 2.23 and VR2 we know 0.56, and we can go back and find out what is the temperature. We have to find out the temperature TR2, and then we can find what is the T2. But the alternate, that's a difficult way to find out, because this VR1, if you want to go back and look at it, it's difficult. So what you can do, you can find out the relationship between V and VR. So VR is by definition V, specific volume, divided by R TCR by PCR. So this is the volume at any condition. So this is the relationship between that two. So what we can find out now, applying the real gas law, T2 can be obtained by P2V2 by Z2R, and this P2Z2R, if you can take out, you are left with V2 only, and this V2 you can find out from the reduced pressure, reduced volume at state 2. So VR2 into RTCR by PCR. So all these values you know, you just input these values and you will obtain 460K. Okay, so by real gas assumption, through the compressibility chart, through the pseudo reduced volume concept, what we get is 460K will be the final temperature. Okay, but the ideal gas assumption gave us T2 to be 596.8K. Okay, so but real gas assumption gives us a much less temperature, 460K. So if we find out the error, assuming that the real gas is more closer to the actual value, then it is about 30% error we are making if we take the ideal gas. But mind that ethane at this particular temperature and pressure is much closer to the ideal gas behavior. It's only 30% error. But for the water vapor in the last problem, what we have seen, it was close to 70% error, which is absolutely unacceptable value. Okay, so enough of this compressibility chart, real gas behavior, ideal gas assumption. Okay, so let's take up the last problem of this tutorial, which is not much of looking up numbers and calculation, but more of concept. Okay, so and the concept of critical point, that's what we are going to use. So what's the problem statement? A 4-liter rigid tank contains 2 kg of saturated liquid water mixture. So it's a liquid water mixture to start with, and the temperature is given to be 50 degrees centigrade. The water is now slowly heated until it exists in a single phase. Okay, so now from 2-phase you are taking it to single phase by heating it up. Now at the final state, will the water be in liquid state or in vapor phase? Liquid phase or vapor phase? That's what the question is. And if the next part is, what would be your answer if the volume of tank were 400 liter instead of 4 liter? So now you increase the volume up to by 100 times. Okay, so what will the answer change? So let's see how to approach this problem. So this tank is a rigid tank, right? So the specific volume will remain the same all the time, because specific volume depends on 2 things. One is mass, the second one is volume. So for a rigid tank, neither mass can change nor the volume can change. Okay, so specific volume will be the same. So now you just see at this schematic diagram, we don't know the exact values of anything. So this is a temperature specific volume plot of water, and this is the saturation dome, right? We have seen this earlier in the last tutorial. This is the saturation dome, and in between we have a 2-phase coexistence zone. Liquid and vapor coexist. Now you are at 50 degrees centigrade. Let's say this is the 50 degrees centigrade line. Okay, and you are somewhere here on this line, and you are under this dome, because it is given that the initial state is a 2-phase mixture. Okay, so now if you are at point 1, suppose this is 2-phase mixture on 50 degrees centigrade, everything is fine, right? Now as the whole process is happening at constant specific volume, you will be following this line, right? This dotted line 1 to 2. Please see my cursor. Okay. So this line you will be following and you will end up in point 2, which is the single phase point. So what is the state at state 2 compared to, I mean, if you look at relative to this saturation dome, it is the compressed liquid, right? It's a single phase dome, single phase region, and it will be compressed liquid. So if you are at point 1, you will end up at point 2, which is liquid phase. Okay, but if you are at point 1 prime, so see the cursor, if you are at point 1 prime, it is also in two phase region, it is also on 50 degrees centigrade, right? But now if you increase the temperature, you will be reaching 2 prime, which is saturated vapor, right? So you have to know where on this line you are, because then only your answer will be correct. Whether it is liquid phase or vapor phase will depend on where on this line you are, whether at 1 or at 1 prime. So basically we have to look up whether you are left to this VCR, that means the critical volume, this is the critical point, right? The top point of the dome, saturation dome, is the critical point, and the corresponding specific volume is the critical volume, right? So you have to see whether your specific volume at state, the first state, is left towards the left or towards the right. If you are towards the left, then you will end up at liquid phase after heating. And if you are towards the right of this critical volume, you will end up in the vapor phase after heating. Okay, so is the concept clear? It is very important to understand where on this line you are, and that particular understanding depends on where with respect to the critical volume you are, or the liquid in the tank is. So from two phase region to single phase region, whether the final state be liquid or vapor depends on what is the critical volume, which is the VCR. So first we have to find out what is the VCR. Okay, let's look up what is the VCR for water. So on the right, this is table A1 again. This is the critical point properties, and we are working with water. So the critical point volume, specific volume is this value, 0.05056. Okay, and that's in meter cube per kilomole. This is important. Okay, if you read it directly and use it, you may not be consistent with the units. So this is given in meter cube per kilomole. So we may have to convert it to the meter cube per kg. So let's go back to the problem. So first task was to find out the VCR from the table, critical point volume, specific volume. We have done that, that is 0.056 meter cube per kilomole. But now we have to do it meter cube per kg, because then only we can compare whether it's left or right. Okay, so we need to have this molar mass as well. It is also given in the same table. For water, molar mass can be found out 18.015 kilomole per kg. Okay, so you just divide it, so you get specific volume at critical point to be 0.0031 meter cube per kg. So if for state 1 this specific volume is less than critical specific volume, then final state will be liquid. That we have explained with diagram. And if it is greater, or if it's on the right hand side, then the final state will be vapor, right? So let's see what is the specific volume. If the tank volume is 4 liter, the specific volume is 4 liter is equivalent to 0.004 meter cube. Okay, so yeah, so that's the volume in meter cube, and the gas amount is given, or the water amount is given to be 2 kilogram. So the specific volume is 0.002 meter cube per kilogram. Okay, so this 0.002 is less than what we have just found out, 0.0031, right? So if the tank volume is 4 liter, you are in this region. Let me show that again to make sure that you understand. So actually we are at left hand side of this VCR, okay, for 4 liter tank. So that is why the final state we can say will be the liquid state, okay. But if the volume is actually 400 liter, okay, then the specific volume will be 0.2 meter cube per kg. That is greater than 0.003, right? So in that case, the final state will be vapor. Okay, so it is very interesting to see that just the volume of the tank can be a giveaway whether by heating you will get liquid phase or vapor phase. So this is very much possible. From two-phase region, you are heating it up and you are getting liquid phase, which is a little counterintuitive, I would say, right? But this is very much possible, as we can see from this problem. Okay, hopefully all the problems that we have taken in the last tutorial as well as this tutorial, we have covered different aspects of the pure substance properties, the R134A, the water table, how to read them, we have looked at. For the gas, the ideal gas assumption, the real gas, compressibility chart, all of these we have looked at, and we have looked at the fundamental concepts as well. Okay, hopefully it will make you very well conversed with the theory, the third chapter, the theory of pure substances or the properties of pure substance. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.